Hello again, everyone. I'm Larry Hamilton. Thank you for watching. Welcome to my YouTube painting channel and this live broadcast. We're going to do a couple paintings today. If time allows, I think I'll be able to get two done. But I'm going to show you how we can use get more than one use out of a photograph at least. So I'm going to start with a photograph and show you how I got two paintings out of it, and even adding a third photograph that helps the first photograph. So that's really what I want to talk to you about today, and I want to thank you again for joining, and please let me know where you're from. Type it in the chat window there if you can find the chat window, and I will acknowledge you, and also if you want to put in any questions or ask me any questions, use that chat window for that. So I'm going to go back over to my computer right now, and I'm going to show you a few things about this photograph that I started with, and I'll be right back to the easel in a minute. Okay, here we are again. Thanks for joining me, and let me show you the photograph that I started with. This is a photo that was a group of photos that I purchased, and it's a very wide panoramic scene, a very large photograph. A lot of detail in there, a lot of depth. But as usual, I have cropped it down and made it a little smaller, and so I cropped it down to this size, which actually fits a 16 by 20 piece of watercolor paper, which is the size we're painting today, 16 by 20, and it's on Fabriano 300-pound watercolor paper. The thing I added to this, I thought this lend itself specifically to a river rafting trip. When I've been out in these areas in Montana or in the Rocky Mountains somewhere in the U.S., I always see people rafting. And so I grabbed a little photo of a rafting crew here, two boats, and I took them and shrunk them down using Photoshop, and I won't show you how I did that today. That's for another lesson. But basically, by overlaying the image on top of my existing photo and shrinking it down, I was able to put this photograph of these rafters in the proper size relative to their surroundings. So they look kind of small. It's going to be not very much detail in these particular rafters, or the paint, the faces, or the bodies, or whatever. It's going to be fairly abstract, but at least it adds some interest to the scene. It adds a human element, which people tend to look at, but this also has a lot of scale and a lot of depth, which I want to try to achieve in most of my paintings. So, as I said before, this is a 16 by 20 painting, 41 centimeters by 51 centimeters if you're using European scale. And when I divide it into my 4 by 5 grid, it comes out in inches to 4 inches across each grid mark, and each grid mark is 4 inches down, so they're basically squares. And as usual, I've created a value map. This is what the value map looks like. Has some nice darks that run through it, has some nice lights that run through that. I've actually taken a little bit of liberty with the river in the back, and I'm going to extend it behind the peninsula there, and make a peninsula out of that piece of ground on the left. And I have my sketch completed. I did it in pencil on this paper. It's a little bit light in some areas, and when I show you my easel, it's even going to be lighter because I've gone over it and actually pulled some of the graphite off so that it doesn't it's not in the paint and doesn't bother the paint. So that's the sketch. It will be on my website when I get this video edited and uploaded to YouTube after the painting. 3 days after I finish, I will have the video re-edited, and we'll have it uploaded onto YouTube. So I want to go back now to my easel, and I'll put the palette on there. That's going to be the first thing we talk about. And as usual, I talk about my brushes and paints. I'm using my Sterling Edwards painting palette here. I'm using a set of his brushes. These are small and medium bristle brushes that have a very nice ability to blend, and that gives some neat effects to the watercolor. I have a 1-inch flat, a 1/2-inch flat, and I have 3 rounds, a number 8, number 12, and number 4. And I have a script liner here. Let me take a second and go around the palette and tell you the paint colors I have in my palette. I have my neutral tint here is the dark color on the outside. These are Primary Blue transparent watercolors. Neutral tint, Primary Blue Cyan, Ultramarine Blue, Ultramarine Violet, Crimson Lake, Primary Red Magenta, Cadmium Red. Earth tones, I have Burnt Sienna, Raw Sienna, and Yellow Ochre. A couple of greens, I have Cupric Green and Sap Green. And a couple of yellows, I have a Limon Yellow and I have a Primary Yellow. A couple of browns here, Burnt Umber and Still to Grain Brown. And I have an orange here. It doesn't look orange in the palette, but it's called Auvergne Orange. And then I always leave my lamp black and my titanium white here in the palette as well. I don't really use those that much, but I have them there if I need them. So that's the brushes, that's the paints. Let me see if I can get my, there we go. All right, so I think that's all I wanted to tell you about this painting. It's larger than normal. Normally I do 11 by 14, but this is 16 by 20, so it may take a little longer to paint it because it is larger, but nevertheless, we'll get it done and try to do a second painting. I want to show you how I got that second painting in a little bit, and I got it out of the same photograph, and it's going to be an abstract, so show you how to get double use out of your photographs. All right, let me get my camera set up here, get zoomed in so you can see it. I'm going to move it over just a little so that it doesn't have me in the picture quite as much. No, I want to move it this way. There we go. All right. So now I think you can see all of that. You can see my palette, and I think we're ready to go. So I'm going to start here with some just clear water using this medium bristle brush to put some clear water in the sky, and I'll get going. I'm going to check my chat here. See, I got Karen from Marietta, Georgia, Karen Forstner from Vancouver Islands, Canada, Southeast Massachusetts, Ed, hello. Okay, Scarpy's here, thank you. Well, fun to have you all here, folks. We have a good crew today. Have international crew again. I have some people from Italy. Have one from Italy, one from South Africa, several from the United States, at least one from Canada. Great international audience I'm building here. All right, so that's the wetness of the sky right there, just enough to get it wet. And somebody from France, David, hello, welcome. I'm going to put just a little more water here to make sure that sky is wet enough. And that's really all I want to do with that, to wet it down. I'm going to just put in a little bit of sky, not too much. There's not a lot of sky in this thing. Pick a little bit of cyan blue. Makes a beautiful sky color. And it has, it's hard to tell, but it has a little bit of green in it. Certainly it has more green in it than ultra blue. So when I'm putting a painting together that has some greens in it, you want to have something to give it harmony. You want to have some green type colors in your sky without having to put in the actual green itself, if you can keep from it. So I'm just hitting it here. You know, this dries off a lot lighter than it goes on, so it may look like it's too dark in some areas, but I'm going to just put a little brush right over there like that. And it's running down into my mountains, but that's okay. These mountains over here are really dark, nice brown, so leave that sky color back there and add some more in down here, and pretty much that's the sky. I may come back and put in a little bit of this neutral tint here, just to add some cloud effect in some areas, just to kind of make it so that it's not all pure white. Just very lightly touching it here, and these things will soften up and blend in, as long as that paper's nice and wet. That's really all you need to do to get a nice sky. I have this sky scrunched down so that it's not taking up a lot of space. One of the things I work on is trying to map out my space. That's what this value map is all about, is to try to figure out how much of the painting I want to devote to sky, how much I want to devote to mountains, how much I want to devote to foreground or middle ground. So this value map helps me remember that, helps me keep on top of that. St. Augustine, Florida. Thank you. Robin, welcome. Okay, so Arizona, I'm passing up some folks. Donnie from Rock Island, Illinois. Great, folks. All right, so now we're going to start down these mountains. I'm going to pick up my 1-inch brush, and the mountains in the distance are going to have a bluish purple color to them. The further away they should have more purple or blue in them, just for atmospheric perspective. So we'll get some of that blue, a little mixture of ultra blue and that violet, and we'll start coming in here and putting in some of that. Put a little more blue in that maybe. And I'm going to leave some spots here for some snow. We do have some little pockets of snow sitting up on this mountain, these mountains in the distance. So we'll just leave some space for that. And so now this paper is reasonably dry here. So except where I get up here to the top where I've put this sky in over it, it's pretty much dry. So I'm just leaving little white marks there. That's going to tell me I've got some snow up there. And just finish off this mountain over here. A little pocket of snow sitting right there. Okay. And change the color a little bit if you can. Try to mix it up a little bit. Don't leave it all one value. Put in some change of value. It helps add depth. It helps the painting look like it's more realistic. Coming down over this mountain back here. Something like that. We've got another mountain there. Let's see, this comes down right about to there. So let's leave a little spot on top of that like that. Leave a little rough texture there. Covered up a little bit of my snow right there. Maybe I can pick that out. I don't know. All right, not too much going on there. I want to make this a little sharper edge than I have here. This water kind of ran down, so let me back that out just a little. I can actually leave it foggy like that if I want, or a little bit blurred, but just put in a little bit of a harder edge back there. And we'll put in a few other dark spots. Okay. So there's not a whole lot of texture to see in this mountain back here. It's pretty far away, and we don't want to have too much going on back there. All right, now this mountain here on the left is a little bit darker. Has some other colors in it. I don't know that I don't have to exactly match the colors, but I want to pick up some browns, put in some browns in with my bluish purple here, and as it comes forward it's going to get darker, right? Remember that? And so this range here is going to be a darker color. I think I even need some neutral tint in there to darken it up a little bit. Come on, give me some neutral tint. There we go. I've made this a little, have a little more movement in it than is shown in the photograph because I don't like a straight line going across there. I don't want it to give the appearance of a straight line. And these brush strokes need to move down and to the right if possible, because that's the way this part of the mountain flows. So if you make your brush strokes go the way the mountain flows, you'll help continue to tell the story, what's going on there. Right here, we're going to put in some, there's really not any snow in this part of the mountain, they're just distant, dark mountains back there. Throw in a little bit of this purple to add some harmony. Okay. Again, folks, if you have any questions, throw them up on the chat window. I'll see if I can answer them. And I have another computer up here by my elbow, and I can kind of check it and see if there's anything I can answer for you. Okay, here we go. That's good enough right there. Okay, put a few more darks in there. Again, just some. I don't want to have a big section of nothing going on back here. I want to put in just a few things to add some values that make it look like there's something going on in those mountains. Okay, I'm using a 1-inch, big 1-inch flat brush here, and that's about all I need to do there. Okay, so I've got a mountain in the distance that's kind of blended away into the sky back there, which is fine. You know it's further away because it's bluer and more purplish. As I come forward, these mountains start getting another lighter brown color that starts getting closer to the ochres and the reds and that sort of thing. So I'm going to start building up a bit of burnt sienna, raw sienna, yellow ochre over here, which will start giving me the colors I want for this set of mountains in here. So we'll see what that looks like. That's not exactly there, but it's close. Maybe a little more red in them. So we're just putting layer after layer here in these mountains and putting on fairly fast, fairly abstract, trying to keep it from change the color up a little bit, put in some darker areas. Change the color, go back, add some new colors to it. This actually comes down this way, this mountain. See if I can make it show that. I'm going to put a little darker area behind it. Down like that. There. There's a lot of trees and stuff back in here that you really can't see all that well. Neutral tint. Question is, what is neutral tint? Neutral tint is Mary Blue's version of Payne's Gray. If you know what Payne's Gray is, it's basically a sort of a grayish color that has a little bit of bluish in it, so that's just their name for that color, which to me, if I would put Payne's Gray in the palette, it would probably look about the same. I don't know, I haven't tried to actually compare the two, but I know that's what Payne's Gray looks like. I've used enough of it to know. I've had it in other palettes, with other paints, like Grumbacher would have a Payne's gray that would be the equivalent of neutral tint. So if you don't have neutral tint, if you don't have My Merry Blue colors, don't get hung up on needing a certain color from My Merry Blue. These colors are pretty standard in terms of what might be in a palette for watercolor painters, and you just have to find one that appears to be the same color as is on the palette. Okay, I'm just getting a... All right, just making some marks again with my brush to sort of give it a little texture back here. Looks like something's going on. Here we have another set of trees and things that are happening. I'll just use some of my purple for that in here in this area. These are so far away, they're really hard to see, but they're out there. I'll just put a few marks in to make it look like we have something going on back there that's okay. Now let's see here if I can pick up my half-inch brush here. See if I can put in a few shadows. We're starting to get a little definition in some of these mountains back here. Using this purplish color, I'll help put a few more things that look like we're starting to get from the plains that flow this way to the vertical cliffs here and the vertical rocks here. Might want to put a few more darks in here just to help show some different layers of mountains back there. Because there are a lot of layers of mountains back here. Okay. See this area over here now. I'm going to start in with this my violet mixture of violet and this brown that I have here. I'm going to start down here. It's not quite enough brown in it. Okay, that's more of a grayish brown. I have to keep track of where I am here in the scheme of things. Okay, so I'm just changing the colors a little bit, give myself a little bit of a grayer background back here. I'll pick up some of this dark sienna, put in a few other darks in here like this. As I come down, I'm going to get a lot more darks in here, but right now I just want to sort of highlight a few places that might have some cracks and crevices in them. Show that it's not just soft mountain material back there. There's a lot of sandy material that comes off of these mountains, but there are some rocky areas as well. So I want to try to preserve that. Let's see, this comes across, and okay, I'm just kind of going back to my photograph really to kind of verify where different colors are, where they're showing up differently. It starts getting a little more redness in it down here as it comes down. Right in here like this. So by changing the color and the value, making it a little bit darker, the illusion I'm giving you is that this is closer to you. So much about painting, whether it's oils or watercolors or acrylics or whatever, is about making optical illusions on two-dimensional paper. So once you understand that a little bit, it helps you with knowing what to do to make things look a little bit more realistic, I guess. We have areas here that have a lot of dark streaks in them, and I will come back and put some of those in a minute, but right now I'm just sort of painting down the side of the mountain. There's a interesting, is it here? There, it comes down here. There's a sharp area like that that sort of blends in and blends out, has a gray tint to it, but it's basically a, it looks like it's a little shelf that kind of comes out, and it just sort of hangs over and then blends into what's below it here. Okay, so that looks like that might be a shelf that's kind of overhanging. Comes down here into this area. This is all greenery down here, so I want to make sure I keep my browns going up here and earth tones kind of going in this area here. So let's keep going with this. And by letting some of this dry and then coming back over it, I'm creating some interesting textures and interesting shapes that kind of look like it might be more mountainous. Cliff-like, I guess, is the term maybe I should use. Looks like a cliff of some kind. There's a lot of dark spots in here. I'm going to just kind of fill all of this in like this. What have I got there? That's another area that should be probably a little gray. I'm going to get some more of this neutral tint out here and change my color up a little bit. See if I can get a different gray down here. There we go. Might be too much, but let's see if we can change the color, change the value, change about anything we can think of. As my friend Tony Couch used to tell me in his workshops. Change the color, change the value, change the size, change everything you can think of about every so many inches of your paper so it doesn't look boring. We're trying to take something that's a huge expanse. This thing is very, very large back here. We're trying to put it in this 20 inches wide. So I'm painting something that's miles wide, and we're putting it in 20 inches. So if I don't do something to entertain you in these spaces with different colors and different values, you're going to get bored and going to go look at the next guy's painting, and you're not going to look at my painting. So I'm trying to show is that you have to change things up. You don't want to just paint one solid color. And Scarpy, nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry to see you go, but this will be on online after I get it edited, and you can always come back and watch it from the link that's on YouTube until I get it edited. So it's being recorded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cameras right now. 4 of them are mine, 1 of them's YouTube. So we should have something available for you to watch. I have 4 cameras here in my studio, 3 cameras and 1 computer that's recording this. So nobody should have to miss anything. And I'll check my timer. We've been going about 25 minutes, so making pretty good progress here. Okay, so I'm sticking in some interesting shapes, trying to get this top of this cliff over here. There are little peaks that kind of stick up. Pick up some more of my darker browns here. I got some beautiful browns. This still to grain brown is a beautiful brown. But I'm going to put this in and start showing you a little bit of the part that's in shadow here. We have, even over here, we have areas, I think that's still too wet, but some other areas that are in shadow. Using burnt umber for that. And a little bit of my still to grain brown. And let me see, right here maybe. That's a little bit of dry brush. It actually, you probably can't see that on the video, but because I pulled down very quickly, it left some nice dry brush effect there, which I like. Over here we got some other areas that are fairly dark. Represent little crevices and cracks and things that are kind of sticking out. So I'm helping define for you now this three-dimensional rock face and these cliffs that are back here. I'm just doing it with putting in some darks, and all of a sudden you see the contrast between the dark and the light, and it helps you believe that's three-dimensional back there. Back over here, let's see, we got a ton of stuff going on up here. We still got a lot of painting to do. Let me get moving over here. This area up here is very dark. Goes right off the top of the paper. And then we leave a little spot for the sky to stick out. I'm leaving some dry brush up here too, so it's so it's just simple brush strokes, folks. It's nothing exotic here, just a combination of dry brush and different colors, the tones, the throwing in some of the purples in here will help even darken some of this area a little more. This particular one is very dark, so I just put another layer of my violet over that, or ultramarine violet. I can throw a little blue on some of these that will darken down as well. This area in here is really fairly light. Go pick up some of my raw sienna colors and pull those down. If I want to get more coverage out of that, I just sort of wet my brush and go back and pull it down. It lightens it up, makes a sort of a gradated wash out of it. But it's also giving me some lighter color over there. It has that dark behind it, so it stands out. So this is another shelf that sticks out here, I guess. So I'll leave room for that. Another dark V down there. This is kind of fun. David from Oxford, UK, welcome. Nice to have you tuning in. Okay, folks. All right. Most all this mountain has been done with this 1/2-inch brush. I probably could have used my 1-inch brush and done it faster, but I get stuck on a brush sometimes. I don't want to give it up. There's a lot of areas that have some marks in them. I'm not going to spend a lot of time over there painting that. That's not an area I want you to look at anyway, so I'm not too concerned with what it looks like over there. there is this theory of composition that I adhere to, which says take about a 2-inch perimeter around your painting and try to not put hardly anything interesting there. Make it very abstract, light, so that it doesn't draw the viewer's interest to the edge of your painting. You want the viewer to look in your center of interest, which in our case is going to be these boats here in the front, these river rafts that are floating down the river with people in them. So if I put a lot of detail up here and detailed every little rock and crevice over here, you'd be looking up here instead of down at the area where I have the river rafters going on. Okay, so that's getting a little bit the way I want it. Let me see, I've got this other set of rocks in here. And see if I can get that a little darker in some areas. That's probably a little too dark, but let's put it in there anyway. I think I got trees coming up here now. Yeah, this is all starting to be trees. So I'm going to just flick this in very quickly. Okay. Take my burnt sienna and let's put a few more dark marks in here to sort of help. This area here, I got a big area that has nothing going on. Don't like that. Let's put something in there and kind of make it look like there's something going on in there anyway. Feather it out. Take these colors and make them sort of. Another good tool that I use, sometimes I'll use this 1-inch bristle brush. Just get it wet and we can just basically blend it out, blend some of these areas out with this. And it gives a nice soft finish to many of your brush marks. So I'm just going to put in a few more darks in here, a few more darks in here, and make sure that we got it dark enough. I want this dark to kind of flow from up here at the top where it's very dark. I'm going to hit that again and pull it down. Okay, so that's helping it stand out now as that dries off. These other areas over here sort of have some things in them that go that way, like that. Yeah, let's, all right, this dark comes down even further. Let me put a little more of that in here. Actually connects there, okay. All right. I think I'm going to cool it on that. I may step back and look at that after a bit and see if I need to do some more, but right now I'm going to stop on that and start working on the grasses and middle ground here. Okay, get this brown out of my palette, get this purple out of there. More to get out, here we go. All right. Okay. I've got a couple of greens. Actually, when you talk about greens, I've got pure sap green. That's what it looks like. I've got this cupric green, that's what it looks like. Has more blue in it. And then I have my yellows. I have my primary yellow right here, and I have my limon yellow, which is yellow with green in it. I don't know if you can see that. If I put them next to each other on the palette, hopefully you can see that this one yellow has maybe more green in it, the other has more orange in it. And then I have my 2 or 3 blues. I have my violet over here. I have my ultramarine blue, and I have my cyan blue. So between those blues, those yellows, and those greens, if I add yellow ochre, I can get many, many greens out of those swatches of color. So I don't have to make it all one green color for the whole background. I can mix it up and change it up and try to make it less all one color. I'm going to start with some of my sap green mixed with this yellow ochre I had in the brush, and just see if I can start putting in some, give me some more sap green in there. Back here there's an area that's sort of light green. It's almost like that. It's like an area that actually has some green grass in. I'm going to just go ahead and paint this whole section in down here, because I'm going to come back over it and put some dark trees over it. So I'm just going to leave that as an underpainting for that. It comes down here. It starts, what's in here? This is all, it's all more mountain right there. I left that out. Okay, so I'm going to come back and hit that, make that a mountain. This is the green down here. I'm going to leave that cupric green alone. I don't like that particular color. That would work maybe for a waterscape maybe, but I don't think it works well for this particular. It's not a green that I see in this area. So it's really just sap green, a little bit of lemon yellow is what I'm putting in here. This is a big tree going up here, so I'm just going to put an underpainting of green behind it. I'll come back and put a darker color over the top of him in a minute. And then this over here is all grass over here, all of this. So let me give some more of this green. I'm going to change the green, pick up my some of my violet, mix it in with my yellow over here. I'm going to get another green. See that color? So by just slightly tweaking what's in my palette, I'm actually coming up with these different greens going across here. I've got all this greenery down here. This is all green. So I don't like that, so let's change the color. Let's make it something else. Put ochre in. Actually, ochre and black or neutral tint will make an interesting olive color. So you see the different colors of green I'm getting going across here? They're not all the same. That's by design. Some of these I'm going to leave some room for some lighter colors in there. Whoops, I think I just painted over my a little bit of my water back there. I want this water to go back here and here. I'm going to leave an area for that water back there. Just about did it. Thank you, Ollie. I love the colors. Okay, Karen, thank you. Okay, let's get some more dark stuff in here. Taking ultra blue and mixing it with sap green gives us another dark color that I'm going to use probably in some of these lower trees. I just want to put a background of it right here. Okay, so that's enough of that right there. But that color is going to show up over here in some of the other shadows of these other greens. It's just ultra blue and sap green. I don't want to go back in here yet. It's still too wet. So I'm going to just kind of pop in a few things over here along this water line. There's a water line, and then there's a gravel, sort of a gravel sandbar here. Put a few dark things in there like that. May be hard for you to see that right now. I got this brown, this is brown, this is dark. These are dark green, so I'm going to pull my dark green back over here in this area and just put in some tree shapes. Over here. Add a little ochre to it, lighten it up. The other thing we can do is we can gray this down a little bit. If we want to gray these greens down, what would you put in green to gray it down? I've asked that question before. You should know the answer to that if you've watched me very often. You find on the color wheel, you look at the complement, which is across the color wheel from the color. Across the color from green is red. So if I take red and mix it with green, I will gray that green down to the point where it becomes gray. It can be a gray with gray to the red side, it can be a gray to the green side, but it's going to be a green, or a gray. All right, I'm just kind of hitting this tree that's kind of setting in front of everything here right now with my dark greens. I got to get this mountain back in there before I forget it. I'm going to have a trouble if I don't put that thing in there. Got other trees popping up here. I'm just going to throw in some things to kind of fill this in, right, so they don't have quite so much green grass back here. I'm going to get my browns, go back and pick up a few of these browns here. And I've got to lay in this had a interesting ridge. There was a ridge that went along here like this. So I'm going to try to make that dark as it was. And then as it fades back into the background, it sort of gets lighter. So I'll just use a little water for that, clear it out. So again, I'm giving you an optical illusion of the top of a little part of this mountain that sort of sticks over and has a dark rim on the edge. It's really dark right up here. And as it fades out, it gets lighter and lighter. Fades into the greens down here. Just going to kind of pull down some things that make it look like it's a cliff overhang, if you will. It needs to be a little darker for you to see it. It looks fine to me, but I think it needs to be darker for you to see it. That's really all you have to do in there. Just sort of give it a little bit of tone. And I've just made myself another edge of the mountain there, another section that's sticking out. In shadow, because it shows the overhang. Okay, got that done. A lot of green in here. See, I'm going to go over some of this stuff with darker colors. Just want to make sure I've got enough base in here. Back to these greens. Put some more base color in here. This is lightening up down here. It's another type of green. It actually gets into a, I don't know what that color you would call that. It's got some almost a sage color, I guess. And all of this in here is sort of a sage and brown. I see I see a lot of this, I guess you'd call it raw sienna type color here. I'm going to put that in as an underpainting and come back and put the greens over it. This is raw sienna. It's just part of the cliffside here, or the part of this bank that goes down into the water. And over here, okay, now I have an interesting place to see. This is, make sure, oh, that's my dark. Oh, this is the dark. Okay, I got to make sure I'm doing this right. Okay. You don't have to perfectly copy the photograph, but sometimes I like to at least stay close to the photograph. Putting in a few trees over there, a few more trees. This area here I like because it's got some of my some of this grass, same as this grass that was up here, kind of shows up right in here. So I'm gonna see if I can put that in. It's almost a flat area here of grasses that kind of hover above this bank. There's a big dark bank down here. These things all kind of float out and make sure I'm at the right place. Yeah, okay. Okay. And these things kind of overlap and mix together. I'll just put a few things here like that. I'm going to come back and put some more stuff here when that dries, but right now I'm going to let it sit there. Up here, I've got more bushes and all kind of stuff going on there. I think I'm going to try my little round brush here and see if I can flick in some ochre type bushes that maybe have a little red in them. Put a little orange in there. I don't know. Some greens. See what it looks like when I touch it here and see what it comes out like. But too much maybe. Okay. More green in there. These are all going along the edge of the bank down here. This is a big tree here I want to put in. Sort of comes out and hits the water down here at the dark edge. Okay. These areas here look like they're, you can actually see the overlap where I overlap the green, but if I use my brush enough, I can actually kill that hard line that's in there. And since these brushes are made of bristle, they you can actually pick up that hard line and make it less obvious. If you know what I'm talking about there. So these need to be darker at the bottom, if possible. So I'm just going to pull in some dark values. Okay. Again, this is not the center of attraction necessarily. I still got a lot of green areas back here I need to finish up. This area here with this tree, I'm going to go back and see if I can, what I use my ultra blue and sap green to get a very dark color here. See what happens now if I come in with that. Bang, put that guy in there. Okay. Very dark tree sitting right here. And he's got mixtures of other trees around him. So I'm going to give it some other colors. There's another little tree like right in here that kind of sticks up. Dark, dark, dark. Darker you can make it, the better. So a round brush is working pretty well for me right now. There's some few other areas back in here that sort of blend in. I'm just looking for darks right now. Where are the dark things that need to go in here? Just putting a few across here like that, and I'm going to take the bottom and I'm going to make those. Right now it looks like those things are glued on, right? Well, by just taking a little bit of water in your brush and just softening that edge at the bottom, all of a sudden I've just connected those to the landscape. Same thing over here. Just again, this brush is nice because it's a kind of a bristle type brush, and just sort of blends them together. They don't have to be specific and distinct. They just need to look part of the landscape back there. Okay, so let's do a little more of that. I've got some other areas back here that sort of bump up against these rocks. I'm going to put a few old trees and things in there. I have this area here that's actually part of the bank. I want to preserve this all the way back here. There's some very darks, dark bushes, and I'm basically letting you see this water go right back into the background there. I'm leaving it fairly abstract for your imagination to follow, but I want to just put in some nice things that look like there's tree growth, some interesting little pine trees or something. Pick up some other colors. I've got a lot of that green going on. Let me try some of this violet with my satin green. So I'll put some of these in. Down here I want to get them darker at the bottom. So this is going to be a place that kind of sticks out over the water down here. Okay. So now you're seeing a lot of little trees. You're seeing some interesting things. Okay. Step back and check it. How's it looking? Okay. There's a lot of light, sort of yellowish trees in here. I'm going to see if I can put in a few things that sort of lighten this up a little bit in here. And darken it down a little bit at the bottom so I can show you some depth. Put in some values that just sort of change the color and make it. So by having that underpainting there, I don't have to worry too much about covering the paper. I'm just able to flick these little things in, these little trees that show up there. This area here, I'm going to put in just a little more of this red with my green to sort of gray it down. I put it over that green, it actually, because it's transparent, it shows through. Little bushes, little things floating around there. Just fill it in with something, you know, you don't have to be perfect, you don't have to exactly match the photograph all the time. Matter of fact, usually as I start painting these things, the further I get into them, the less I look at the photograph. I sort of see the painting taking shape by itself without having to deal with the photograph. But it's these areas that are dark followed by light. They make this things sing. When you put those dark colors next to light colors or dark values next to light values, it really pops out these colors. I think I'll go back. Where's my little 1/2 inch brush here? 1/2 inch flat. In this area here, I'm going to come back and put in some darker trees in the foreground, some nice little spindly things that sort of show up for you because they're darker over this lighter green background. Put in 2 or 3 of them. Pick up a little sap green along with my violet. Okay, it's looking pretty decent. So let's just put in a few more things here to fill this out. Okay, there's always a trick you can use when you have darks in here. You can always use the back of your brush. If you have a brush that has a wedge on it, you can always put in some things. If you get that at the right time, and that's always the question, is what's the right time, you can actually pull out the color. You can actually turn that dark thing into a light thing. But if you get it too late, it doesn't do anything. If you get it too soon, it fills back in and makes it black. So you can get a dark color out of it if you do it too soon. If you do it too late, you don't get anything. If you do it just right, it scrapes the color out and leaves yourself with some nice white trunks in there. All right, we're getting down into this area here now. Let's put in some more of this. There's a lot of, I'm going to just kind of cover some of this again with this lavender color that I have. Show some shadows and things like that in here. And I can come back now and just throw in a few more bushes and that sort of thing. Just leaves me, it helps the eye say, oh, this is going down toward this this cliff here. Basically, this is a little cliff. So in here, I'm going to put in a few more bushes and use that as a backdrop for it. Using my ultra blue. Just using the side of the brush. Again, I don't want this to be overly interesting over here. It's getting a little bit too much detail for me right now, but I want it to be so you can see it but not have to spend a lot of time studying it. I want it sort of just make you feel it's all part of the overall composition. So I'm just putting this in to sort of fill out this area here where there's not much going on. All right, now this comes down. There's nothing going on here too much other than I'm going to put in a few things to make it look like there's some, probably want to get some ochre in there to give me the right color, but these are just sort of flick these things up and make it look like it's part of the landscape there. What I'm coming to here is another rock face. This is actually a cliff or a part of the bank that's really dark, and I want to have this come out here like that. Okay, I'm liking the looks of that. You can see the river here. You can see the edge of the river. I'm going to have to get some of this junk out of my palette. I got way too many colors in there, and get that cupric green out of there. Don't want it polluting anything. How are we doing on time on this, folks? We've been an hour painting just about, so if I can finish this in about a half an hour, we'll be able to do a second painting. I think I'm going to be able to do that. Maybe, let's see here. take up some of my neutral tint up here, and maybe a little bit of this ultra blue in it. And I'm going to try to get a steely blue color, maybe even add some of my dark sienna to get a gray, steely gray color. And this is a bunch of rocks over here. I'm just going to hit it like that. Back in here, I'm going to put a little more blue in it to make it look like it's the actual river back here. Too wet. Pull it fast. Yeah, that's looking decent. If you pull it fast, you get this rough texture on this rough paper. You get a rough texture that makes it look like it's rushing water, which is what I'm trying to achieve here. Flatten the brush out, almost laying it down flat, almost. It's usually calmer back in here, so I can kind of fill this all in. Although there would be some natural rough texture back there. Okay, is it starting to look like it's a river? A rushing river? Yeah, I'm liking that. Same colors, pretty much, not too much change in these colors. This area down here is where the over here against this bank, it's fairly calm. So I'm going to keep it calm. But as it gets out into the open spaces out here, it gets rougher. Mostly neutral tint, a touch of ultra blue and a little bit of dark sienna that gives me this gray color. Put a few darker sections in here. It's really coming across pretty nicely, I think. Get some shadows under these guys here a little bit, but other than that, it's looking pretty decent. Put a little more over here. Okay, don't need to do a whole lot more than that. I do have, see how quickly I finished that off? Where's my, I'm going to get my half-inch slant. Now this area here, I got to tie these banks down to the river before we paint our boats, our river rafts. So these are close to being tied down. I just want to put in some, fill in some of that white back there that's kind of, don't have a lot of white that's actually up against these banks or these rocks here. There are some rocks out in there, actually. All right, it's starting to look like that's a bank because I'm making it darker. I'm putting that brown underneath. Right, and it's not straight, it's not curved. Okay. Now here, this big bank, I got to work on this bank. This is probably one of the big dark areas that's kind of complementing the dark area up on the right. So I'm going to go after this now with my browns and throw in a little bit of my neutral tint, a little bit of my violet, and we're going to come in here and start putting in this very dark bank that comes down here like this, goes up. And it comes down to the water level like this. Has some change of color. Curved. I want it to be curved because that's the way this bank goes. It's curved. It's been eroded by water eating it out. So I want the brush strokes to reflect that. If you can see a brush stroke, I want you to think about that. Think, oh, it's been eroding under there for a long time. So the brush strokes should reflect that. How far? This comes over here and starts actually going up into these areas. Rocks over here, I'm going to save some room for. Okay, out here it's this area. Put some more. Okay, that's starting to look like I want it to. And I want this to sort of go up into, it sort of merges with what's above it here. So I'm just using this brush to flick up and make myself some things that look like they're grasses above it. Helps tie it together. Again, it's you don't want that hard edge sitting there, not tying stuff together. A little yellow ochre will help. I'm going to come in and put a few of those in here to sort of make you think there's some other bushes, other shrubs or whatever sitting out here. Okay. Okay, that's not too bad there. What we got going down here? I'm going to change the color a little bit, different than the photograph, just to give myself some change in here. We've got rocks and stuff going on in here. I'm going to put those in. Put the rocks in on the left side and put the boats in the middle, and we'll have this job pretty well finished. Maybe just a few areas here to tell you again what's going on with this bank. So those dark marks tell you that we've got something that's angular, something that's going down into the water. The water is pushing up against it. Okay. All right, now over here we've got a bunch of rocks. I'm going to make them kind of gray and brown. Just put in a few things I've got left here for the rocks. Put these in and come back and put a shadow under them. Some of them are brown. So it's just a bunch of rocks that are all piled up here, and I want to talk to you about that in a minute, because when I finish with this painting, what we're going to do is make an abstract out of the corner of this painting. I'm not going to use what I have painted here, but I'm going to use a photograph, and I'll show you how I got that photograph in a minute, and how you can use your photographs to get more than one painting out of it. This down here. So this is all a bunch of rocks over here, but you can't see any rocks very much because I haven't defined them for you yet. I really wouldn't have to. You could just leave it like that, and it looks like it's more piles of gravel and stuff going on there, which is not too unrealistic either. Put a few of these marks back in here to help indicate there's something going on back there. And over here we've got some, put a little bit of that gray in here. All right, put a few bushes over that, come back and touch this up when it dries, but let's work on this raft here now. Color of that raft is a bright blue. Get some of this out of my palette here. Okay, let's see. I'm just going to use ultra blue almost right out of the right out of the tube. Let's see if I can. What I want to do first is I'm going to make that hard for you to see, because I'm going to erase some of those pencil marks so they don't overwhelm my drawing, my painting. And right in here we're going to put in both rafts have the same color. Very small, because they're a lot of blue. There's some, they've got like orange vests on, they got blue hats on that match the helmets, I guess you should call it. So I'm going to put a few helmets on here. Very, very abstract. This is not, I'm not trying to paint details of people. I'm trying to just give you the impression that there's a bunch of heads out here that are all in this boat, and they're all in this raft, and they're just having a fun ball of a time out there. I can put a little red in there to kind of spice it up just a little. If you don't want these rafts in your painting, don't put them in there. Just leave them out. Nobody says you have to copy my painting the same way. That, let's put some other colors back here. Use this big old brush. It's basically pretty simple, pretty abstract. There's a thing going out to there. Or very abstract. Another couple helmets and I'll be done with this thing. Looks like there's a bunch of people in there. That's what I want, just a very abstract look at people coming down this. Now, what do we got? Not too much left. I'm going to put in a few trees, and not trees, but just leaves and things down here at the bottom. There's just, it shows you getting close to the edge of the water down here. Just putting in some very simple light brush strokes here. I'm using sap green, a little bit of that yellow. I'm going to put in a few over here like this, same way. Slightly different color, but pretty much the same stuff. It's this is stuff you can't see the bank down here in the foreground, so I'm just letting you know there's a bank down here. Need a little more. I'm going to take it all the way over to the edge over here, I guess. A lot of rough texture. That's all it is, just rough texture with just rubbing the side of the brush like that. I think I'll use my flat brush here, my not my flat, but my 1/2 inch flat, and see if I can just darken in a few shapes over here for you to show you that there are some rocks in this area. Like right here, I'm going to put in a dark shadow there, and it's going to outline a rock above it, and it's going to be the shadow for the rock above it. So putting in this dark line here helps tell you there's some rockiness there. A few other places there's just some, right in here I want to put in a hard edge to show you that's a rock. Another hard edge underneath this guy, and one here. Need some more darks. It's always hard to paint rocks when you have to do them negatively. Put a few other colors in here to help show you there might be a rock of some kind. Up here the same way. These rocks are all working their way down to the water level. So I don't want to do too many of these. If I do too many, looks like it's overworked if you do too many. So it's always a good idea to know when to stop putting rocks in your painting. Okay, that's that. Maybe just a few more shadows back in here to show you this. Some more things going on back in here. All right, I think that's maybe good enough. Let me stop, step back, take a look, see how it compares with the original photo. Yeah, I could spend more time on those mountains on the right, I suppose, putting a few more cracks and crevices, but again, I think that tells the story right there without having to spend a lot more time on it. I do want to have time to paint this abstract for you. Put a few dark things in here to kind of tie this together. That's a little better, maybe. Okay, just something like that, fill it out. Probably good enough. Okay, let me stop and get my brush out here, pop on my signature, and we'll move on. Okay, all right. Now, hope you like that. Hope you can give it a try. And now I want to show you how to get some extra use out of your photographs by picking another part of them and finding an abstract painting in there. So let me clean out this palette, change my water from dirty to clean, and get this done here like that. All right, now the photograph I use for this, of course, is this photo which you saw. I use a tool called a zoom finder, and it's I was going to show you on my overhead camera here where my palette is. I'm going to put this down, lay this on top of here like this, and I think you can see that, and I'm going to, there, okay, there we go. Now, that's the photograph, and the thing called a zoom finder basically has a sliding wedge in here that changes sizes, and you can find about any size you want. And a good tool, a good way to use it is to take a photograph that you have and look for an abstract painting. So this happens to have this grid on top of it, and you can like go through there and you can look at these, just look at the small one here on top, and you just kind of pass it through and you say, does that make a good abstract? Nah. Look at every square on this painting, or a photograph rather, and look through here. I'm looking for dark darks, light lights, something that makes good composition. I don't see it here. I don't see it yet. So I keep going through, I keep looking. There's something that might make an abstract right there, maybe. But that's got people in it, and that would not be an abstract. There's something that might make an abstract. As I go across, come down and look through. I just passed that left corner. I'll come back to it. But what I settled on was this. When you look at that, you see dark shapes, light shapes, you see light shapes running through it, dark shapes running through it, and I think that would make a good abstract. So I found, out of these 20 squares, I found myself an abstract painting. So, abstract photograph anyway. You have to be determined whether I can make a painting out of it, but we're going to try to do that now, and I want to show you on my computer. I'm going to run over there now and show you this up close and let you see what I did actually with Photoshop, or not Photoshop, just simply using, starting with the original photo, which I was looking at. It had the grid on it, of course, that we started with. But when I zoomed in on it, I got this on the lower left corner. Now that is rocks, but to keep it from looking like rocks, I thought, what if we turn it upside down? So I flipped it, and now this is what I have. Still kind of looks like rocks, but it looks like something that I could make an abstract painting out of. So that's what I used for my sketch, and that's what I have on my paper. I cropped it to 11 by 14 so that it basically gives me all these shapes. There's not an identifiable shape in there, person, place, or thing. It's just basically a bunch of shapes. So that's what I want to try to paint for you now, and see if we can get it done in maybe 30 minutes or less. It'll probably take more than that, but anyway, that's what I want to do. So I'm going to give that a try and take off my, as long as you can stay with me here, we will get going. I want to take this painting off my board, and if I can get it off, there we go. So let's get this off, this coming off, and get the top coming off, and lo and behold, I have another paper underneath that basically has my other drawing on it. Amazing how that works. Okay, folks. Let's see here. I'm going to turn off my microphone for a second and be right back with you. Okay, we're ready to go again. So you see my board here. You can't hardly see the painting, of course, or the sketch. But this is what I'm going to try to show you, a good way to find abstract paintings. If you've never painted an abstract, I'm just learning how to do it myself. And so I'm going to do this very loose, very fast, big brushes, and try to minimize the amount of time I spend on it. And I'm going to put it up here at the top so I can see it. Since I put it upside down, it's and I printed it out, so I have another copy up here at the top of my easel. Okay, I think I'm ready to go. All right, I said big brush. Where's my big brush? I'm going to get this, I'm going to wet this thing down pretty good, I think. Cover the whole thing. So it's going to be really wet and wet. And I'll just see if I can paint these shapes. All I'm going to do is paint these shapes. I'm not going to try to make anything out of it. I'm not going to try to convince you that one is a shadow, one is a three-dimensional shape or anything. I'm just going to use, hopefully I'm going to minimize the number of colors so I don't have tons of color in this thing. But we're going to get that wet and let it set for just a second or two. Zoom in a little bit here. Okay. We've been going for about an hour and a half, so if you guys can stick with me for another half hour or so, we'll get something done here that maybe you've never thought about trying before. Okay, so since I turned it upside down, these were the grasses that were sticking up at the bottom, but I don't want to make them grasses. I want to just put in some color. I'm going to use my violet, ultraviolet, and just going to come in here at the top and get my paper towel first in case it starts to run on me. Since I paint vertically, this thing kind of gets out of control sometimes. So let's just put in some interesting shapes here. I'm just going to pull them down like this. Maybe a few more over here. Like that. A little bit darker. Come in and Maybe hit it again in some areas. Like that. I don't know if you saw this, so I'm going to push my painting over as far as I can get it so it's not, I got room to have my palette on there and you can see it. Okay, so there. Water this so I don't have a lot of runniness. What next? Well, I don't know. Pick a color. I'm going to pick my neutral tint. See if I can get a dark color in there, something darker. We have, in this area, we have some darks. So let's throw a dark in there. And maybe some dark down here. Right now these are all sort of rectangular. Except for that one there that's kind of bleeding on me. See if I can push this color a little bit more with these violets. Pick up the violet, get a, it's really too wet. I need to get it drier than that. I'm still only using this 1.5 inch brush here, this great big brush. Okay. Now, what I have here is, you notice this, I have a nice little white shape here, 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 over here, and up there on the corner. So I want to preserve those whites. Very important. Think about your whites, and think about preserving that till the last minute. I don't want to paint those until I'm really nearly done. Picking up some Crimson Lake, and see if I can put some of that in here. Maybe some down here. Over and across like that. You see how this wet on wet makes it blend in a very interesting way. So I'm kind of using my red here for the lighter colors. I'm using my neutral tint for the dark color, and some of the violet for my mid-tone, although I don't have my dark color as dark as I need it yet. So let's just see if we can put in something here that represents that color there. See, these things are bleeding all over each other. And that's okay. When you're working this way, you don't really worry too much about that stuff. Let's see, I'm going to come over and just do that. There. Okay, I'm not trying to make this look like anything, so don't look for the photograph. I've actually almost forgotten about the photograph, other than the fact that I've got some really dark darks I need in this lower left corner. So I'm going to go back and get my neutral tint again, get some more paint in this brush, and see if I can put in this dark shape that kind of goes up like this, down. I'm going to leave some of those other colors in there. And let them soften off together. This is a fun way to paint. It does challenge your right brain a little bit, I would say, because you don't have anything to look at, really. I've got some lines on this paper which you can't really see that well. So I'm just sort of putting in some interesting shapes. Forgot about my brush here, that I can use my 1-inch brush and get it slightly wet and take these colors here and just sort of pull them together like that. And this gives me some soft edges where I had a lot of hard edges before. Okay. Keep the paint out of it, go back and get it so when somebody says, "What are you doing?" my answer is, I don't know. I'm just reacting. Just reacting. 3 colors so far. Crimson Lake, which is like alizarin crimson. Ultraviolet. And neutral tint. So I left an interesting little abstract shape right there on purpose. I'm getting an abstract shape here from painting over that. It's not abstract, it's really just sort of a long purple shape. Let me get some more here. I'm going to try to see if I can stick with these 3 colors. And white. Okay. Go back, get some neutral tint. Paper's starting to dry, so when that happens, I get harder edges. I could stop and dry it, but I'm just going to try to do this true wet and wet if I can. Got some rough edge there, some dry brush. Hope you like this. This is kind of weird. It's kind of different, but something to help you think about different ways of painting. Come back and get some of this really dark neutral tint. Big brush out here and so I'm still preserving that white, preserving almost all of this white. These are always a good painting to try to put yourself on a time limit and say, okay, I'm going to do this in 20 minutes. Or I'm going to do this in 30 minutes. Putting in some curves. try to connect my darks somehow if I can. There's an excuse to make a connect this upper area with the lower area by just connecting that light area there to the lower area. I can do something similar over here, maybe take a something like that. So now you see I'm getting some vertical line out of it. Could someone give you a recap as a muse? Well, we finished one painting in realism, which was a rafting trip and mountain scene, and I did that in about an hour and a half. And I took the photograph that was generated from and took one 4-inch square out of the original photo and turned it into an abstract. So I'm getting 2 paintings for the price of one out of one photo. And what you're seeing right now is me trying to do a non-representative abstract painting, primarily with 3 colors so far and white. I haven't wiped out all of my white yet, but I'm just using these 3 colors. This wasn't planned beforehand. I didn't know what colors I was going to use. I just started out with this ultraviolet color, and so I'm just now sort of kind of making it try to come together with something that looks very abstract and looks like nothing. So if you think I don't know what I'm doing, you're right, because I am basically putting in lines and squares, rectangles, trying to stay away from squares, and putting in geometric shapes, and it's just kind of a fun way to paint, and it's a way I've learned from taking one of my workshops and somebody that does abstract painting, that this is a cool way to get abstract ideas. Obliques are good. Angles are always good in an abstract painting. Curves are good. So I'm trying to like maybe paint around something here. I don't know what it is. All I know is that it's a straight post maybe. I have trouble controlling my left brain. My left brain wants to sort of take over and make things look right, make them look balanced, or make them look your right brain is really good at that. Or I'm sorry, your left brain. My left brain. Did I say right brain? I meant my left brain. I'm always working against my left brain here. Because the left brain wants you to make sense out of what you see. It makes you want to square things off, rectangularize them, and you see that. I've done a lot of that. I have to go back and say, oh, I want to make an angle out of this, or I want to make a curve out of that. There's some interesting little pencil marks here on my paper that I'm looking at right now. And I'm just going to leave that like that. I'm not going to do too much more to this, folks. I think I'm going to just finish it up, see if I can get a few more soft edges here. Soft edges, hard edges, mix them up. This area over here, I can probably pull something. So the darker colors are kind of dominant. The red color is kind of getting a little more washed out. But they're all sort of cool colors. This is sort of a cool temperature painting. I did one similar to this. I did an abstract several months ago, and I entered it in a show, and I got honorable mention for the thing, which kind of renewed my interest in painting abstracts. But why? I'm not sure why. Okay, I've got a nice, interesting abstract shape in white here. I've got a rectangular shape in white here, which probably should be changed a little bit. So let's put now I made a square out of it. See there? So like we can fix that with one little line going through there. Line like that. All right. Kind of messed up my abstract shape, but so much for that. Anyway, you can find ways to get abstracts out of existing photographs. I'm going to take some clear water and just sort of throw it on here to give myself something loose. Loosen it up. And it will give me some runs, give me some back runs. Yeah, I do find it hard to do abstracts because it taxes my right brain. I come away with a headache half the time. Just trying to, because my left brain wants to make sense out of everything. It wants to make me square things off and throw a few more splotches in here. Now it's starting to look like something somebody might put on their wall, maybe, if they like these colors. Just throwing in these splotches of paint and water help do that. Always try to, I think this is probably pretty dry. Let me get a dark color here that's a mixture of my violet and ultra neutral tint. And none of this was in the photograph, but I'm going to put in a couple of curves in this thing. They tend to help improve most abstracts. Angular angles and curves will do things for your abstract painting. I don't know why I put them there. I don't have any reason. I just did it, and that is a challenge. Okay, folks, it's about 3 o'clock. That's the time I promised you we'd be done. And see, I got a dry space down here. I'm going to pick up my brush here and just throw my signature on here. And with that, we did that in 20 minutes. I want to say we did it in 20 minutes. Yeah. Okay, I hope you like that. Hope you've had fun today. I hope you've enjoyed both my paintings. This one is kind of unique, kind of different, and thought I would show you what it is to try to put an abstract on the wall. It's not just throw paint on paper or throw paint on your canvas. There is some thought, there's some design behind it. I have some darks, I have some lights, I have the lights connected together, I have the darks connected together, I have some lines, I have some angles, I have some curves, have some splatter. All of that adds to the abstractness of this painting. And you see what I started with up here on the left. It looks nothing like that, but I had the ideas of some rocks and so the angles come from some rocks. This kind of comes from the grasses back there. So anyway, that's the fun part of this. You can just experiment and have fun all day long, and it's easy to find abstract images if you use something like a viewfinder, zoom finder to zoom in. And I've seen artists actually take this thing and go in here and say, oh, well, that might make a nice abstract painting right there. So they will take an abstract out of an abstract painting and make a full-size painting out of it. So it's really kind of interesting how that can happen and how you can have so much fun. And theoretically, if you make one abstract painting, you can make dozens from it. I think that's all I want to tell you. Check out my website. I'll have this edited and up on YouTube in about 3 days, and I'll have the sketches available for you if you want to use those. They'll be on my website. Check out my Facebook page. Send this off to your friends and tell them to subscribe if you like it. And we'll be back next month on the 3rd Wednesday doing oil painting, and on the 4th Wednesday doing watercolor painting again. So put that on your calendar. That's my schedule every 3rd Wednesday and 4th Wednesday at 1 o'clock Eastern U.S. time. And so until I see you again, it's Larry Hamilton saying so long for now. Thanks for watching. Bye.